Hi guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. Hope you're doing well today. So today we're going to be talking about mounts. It's a video I've been promising to do for a while, but ultimately other things have come up. I've kind of not been around to it, so it's just not happened. So I do apologise for that, but we're doing it now. So mounts, a lot of different uses for them. We're going to be talking through where you get all of them, where you buy them, how much roughly they're going to cost, all that stuff. So hopefully let's get right into it. So the first mounts you're going to experience are the tier 1 mount, which is the Novice's Mule. That's attained through doing the starter quests. So a pretty useless mount. It is really there just as a starter thing. I don't actually know if that'll show. It doesn't. Yes, it's really there just purely to provide a little bit of movement speed increase, a little bit of carry weight for them new players just getting into the game. You then have like the legendary mounts, the donkey, things like that, starting at tier 3. Legendary mounts, while being tier 3, I believe are equivalent to tier 4 mounts, roughly. So yeah, they're quite good mounts just to get started with, but obviously once you've had them once, you ain't going to get them again unless you actively go and buy them, which I don't really know why you would other than for vanity. Moving on then, so we're going to use the tier 3 mounts. The first one's the tier 3 riding horse and the tier 3 ox. These are the first two growable mounts. So look at the horse here, 157 kilograms max load. Not very much at all. You're not going to carry much. If you're gathering on this, it's not going to take long for that to fill up. 85% move speed though, not bad. We are going to get into some mounts later that just have a massive amount more than that though. The ox. Now, while the ox, the ox only has a 50% gallop speed, 20% move speed bonus if it's not galloping, which basically if someone can gank you and keep your gallop off, you're not going to get away from them. Move speed increases will keep them matched up to you all day long. However, it does have a huge armor, magic resist, and CC resist, which means it's going to struggle to be slowed, rooted for very long at all. And obviously the max load is a lot higher. If you're in blue zones, yellow zones, this is the perfect mount. It's really easy to get, very cheap. You can just run around on this thing all day long, fill it up, come back to town, drop off, go again. And you can do that all day long. And this is why oxes at the early level in the safer zones are so worth using. To get these, or to grow these, sorry, go to speak to your little farming merchant dude over here, and you're going to buy the Journeyman's Ox Calf for 12,500 silver, or the Journeyman's Fowl for 12,500 silver. At the start of the game, obviously it was a lot harder to get these, so you had to pay this price. At the moment, I would say check the auction house first, just because there's more of a chance that you're just going to be able to buy them off the auction house even cheaper from people that have grown them with focus, and they've got one in return. Going to the tier 4 mounts then. So we have our first rare mount as well as the two increased mounts. So you're going to see a common pattern here. Horses gain a little bit of hit points, a lot more weight speed. That does go up quite a lot. Sorry, max weight. And it goes up 5% max speed and move speed every time, which is pretty nice. And then the ox, again, you're going to see something pretty common here. 5% speed increase, a little bit more armor and CC resist, massive amount of weight load increase. It just goes up exponentially. It's so big, and hit points goes up quite a lot too. 1504 there for the tier 4, 1338. That's maybe another 2 auto attacks, but that's 2 auto attacks that could save your life. And then we have the stag. So stag is the first rare mount that you're introduced to in the game. Has a 95% move speed bonus on gallop, and a 50% move speed, so it has the same move speed as the riding horse, however 5% gallop faster, so it's equivalent to a tier 5 horse in gallop. Slightly lower hit points compared to like the horse, so 600 really isn't that much, and ultimately it isn't that much faster than the horse. The big advantage for a stag, and this is why I say this mount, perfect for gatherers. As soon as you can get this, get one. It's so cheap, like 40k right now I believe for a stag. It's really not very much, but the max load is huge compared to the horse. It's literally double, which means gatherers have a lot better of a time on this. It gives them a mount that's still quite quick, can get away from gankers with a bit of fast reactions, and has enough weight load that they're going to be able to go out for more than 10 minutes at a time. So to get the horse and the ox, you speak to, again, you come to this little duty over here, and 37.5k for the calf, and again for the horse with the foal. Again, try the auction house with these first, just because they're so much cheaper on there right now. Going to the stag then, you get that. So effectively what happens is you get a whatever a baby stag is, can't think what it's called, from mobs from killing tier 4 stags. And then you get obviously the baby, you grow it into the stag, and obviously you mount it like that. So that's how you get the giant stag. Tier 5 then. So it helps if I click on the right actual adventurer. So tier 5, we have a couple different mounts introduced now. So horses and oxes, not going to say too much about them anymore. Horses, probably your best mount for gathering at this point. It's quite fast, has a lot of hit points. Ox is basically a transport mount at this point. You don't really see them too much unless you're like mass gathering low resources. Armoured horse is the first one we get introduced to of the armoured horses. In terms of move speed, same move speed as a normal horse. In terms of health, same health as a normal horse. However, 100 armor and 81 CC resistance. That is actually massive. People really underrate that. Armored horses are so tanky. If you get one of these, unless you get zerged or play badly with pathing, you can pretty much survive every time. If you're doing PvP, PvE in the black zones even, take an armored horse. You're not going to die. If you're not gathering, you don't need that extra weight load. Take an armored horse. It's so much better. Again, you get this one by growing a T5 fowl, which I'll show you the price for them in a second. And then instead of using the leather as you normally use for a horse, you use the cloth and bars. Just to show you then, that is the T5, which is 112.5k each for the foal and the ox. So then we have the Bone Horse, the War Horse, and the Swift Claw. So the Swift Claw comes from the tier 5 Druid dungeons, blue dungeons, or green dungeons. Any rare boss that's T5 Druid has a chance to drop the cub. The cub then gets grown into the Swift Claw. This is one of the fastest mounts in the game. If you get this early, it is so fast to basically get around. Actually quite hard to gank it. However, if you do get locked down, it's going to die quickly. So one to be careful of. If you do get it, it's basically the baby direwolf. If you get it, it's fast. The Warhorse then is effectively a stronger armoured horse. It's faster move speed and gallop compared to the Warhorse, has more health than the Warhorse, and has the same armour and CC resist. If you get it, it's effectively just equivalent to a higher tier armoured horse. Moving into the Bone Horse then, it's effectively a better horse, faster, more max load, and better hit points. If you can wear and the T6 ones are cheaper, just buy the T6 ones. These are more vanity than anything else. Obviously the Swift Claw is equivalent to the Direwolf. They're going to cost a lot of money. However, I think the Swift Claw is actually a lot more expensive just because of how it looks. Moving into the T6 ones then, we have the same three mounts we've seen before, the Armoured Horse, the Ox, and the Horse. Just going to show the stats on the screen right here. It's just to show on the Ox. Starts getting into some ridiculous numbers right there. It's going to be hard to kill, however they aren't very fast. And then we have the Direwolf. So Direwolves, funny enough, come from a Direwolf. You kill the Direwolves, get a pop drop potentially. You then grow that into a Direwolf. This is just ridiculously fast. It is such a fast mount, but so squishy. You will die in like a single... You will get knocked off this mount in a single stun if you're not careful. You really can die quickly. However, it is so good, especially with the new bubble changes. You get bubble on like every zone in. You really can just fly around on this thing and go from bubble to bubble, and you're going to be pretty safe. The stags are here as well. However, these aren't implemented into the game yet, so I'm not going to talk about them too much. Just to show the prices for the T6 stuff. 337.5k per animal. Again, check the auction houses before buying any of them. It's just so much more efficient. Adventurer, Grandmaster Adventurer for the T7 mounts. So again, I'm going to show the stats for the normal T7 3 mounts. And then on this one, we have a direboar. Now, this is my favourite mount in the game. Not for its looks, but for what it offers. Now, 1,433 kilograms in weight, max load, is equivalent to, I believe, a tier 3 ox. It's just under a tier 3 ox, which doesn't sound much, but honestly, it's a lot. It has armor and CC resist like an ox would, and it has the move speed of like a tier 5 horse, as well as the hit points of a T6 or 7 horse. This mount has everything. You can gather, you can fight, you can do everything. This is a great mount. However, they're hard to get and very expensive. To get the boar, You have to kill T7 direboars, which are on a long spawn because obviously they're T7 resources. You then have to get lucky with that drop. You then have to grow it and make it into the direboar. Hard to get, however, if you get one, these are amazing mounts to just do everything on. And just to show them money for the T7 actually mounts, they are 1 million per animal, which kind of goes to show why they're so expensive. Again, check the auction house for these. I don't imagine they'll be too much cheaper than that, but you may get a good deal. And then finally we have the tier 8 ones. Wow. So Elder's Riding Horse, again, I'm just going to show the mats. At this point it's starting to get equivalent to like a Swift Claw maybe, but it's still not very, not as fast as like the faster mounts at T5. Transport Orcs at this point is just ridiculous. You ain't going to kill this thing unless you've got an army. The Armoured Horse, again, this is a beastie thing. It's so tanky as well as having the move speed just to get away from situations. We then have the Dire Bear. Now, bears drop from, spawn in territories once a day on the GVG spawn times. These have a rare chance to drop a cub. The cub then gets grown into the bear, and this is what you have. This is a direboar on steroids. Again, it has like a T4 ox's worth of weight load, has like a T7, it has more than a T8's worth of resistances, decent enough move speed, as well as being tanky as all hell in terms of hit points. This thing is a monster, hard to get your hands on, but if you don't want to just use it for vanity, you actually want to get use out of it, you can literally do everything in the game on this thing. It isn't the fastest mount in the world, but at that point you're going to look cool. Who needs to be fast? The Mammoth. The Mammoth dropped from the T7 Mammoths actually. So it's a T8 mount, drops from T7. Don't ask me why, it's a bit weird. But you then get them from, so basically just any like castle zone, or sorry, like dungeon, raid zone in the the middle of the territory, in the middle of the zones, continents, that's the word I'm looking for, will have mammoths. They're just any zone that can have T7. You will have to be black zone for this. It has just a ridiculous amount of health, resistances, and it has 41,000 weight load. This is for moving like entire guilds. This is just a monster of a thing. You wouldn't use it for any other reason. It's very, very slow. It is literally there just to move an entire guild over, basically. And then we have the 3 rarest mounts in the game. So Nightmare, which is a steroided warhorse, just slightly better than the Armoured Horse. Literally, there isn't much in it, like 30 health and a little bit of speed. Not much in it, but looks cool. The other advantage is, and this is why these mounts are so good, is that they have special abilities. Only mounts in the game to have these are the 3 green 8.1 ones. Nightmare has a trail of fire that leaves behind that does a similar effect to Wall of Flames from the Fire Staff, from Fire Staffs, the Disorient, which is amazing to survive in ganks. If you get someone ganking you, you drop that behind you, you're going to just leave them in dust because they're going to get disoriented, trolled. If you use it in good position so they have to run over it, it's going to just survive a lot more than you potentially would in other situations. Rageclaw then, just sorry to show you the Nightmare. This is the Infernal Horseshoes, and this one drops from the T6, the Elite Obsessed Demon Prince. Just to talk about it while I'm here, again, another one for that one. There is actually some of these into the Royal Continents as well. Blighted Bog, this one drops the Skeletal Warhorse, the Skeletal 8.1, and then you have the Circling Vultures, which gives the Rageclaw. Let's go back to that. So again, we've talked about this one. You then get the Spectral Bone Horse. So again, it's like a bone horse on steroids. It's like a normal horse on steroids. Not much difference. Actually, you lose some carry weight, gain a bit of speed and a bit of hit points. However, you can stealth. Imagine being ganked and just being able to be on your horse and stealth. You can stealth, juke, do whatever you need to do, but this mount is a beast at being able to survive ganks. It's just an actual animal. If you can get one, you ain't going to die on this thing easily. However, just remember, things like Demonic being so open now, and the fact that it's actually not a bad open world weapon, you're potentially going to see it. The Aura of Decay does bring out stealth, so just be careful with that one. And then finally we have the Rage Claw. The Rage Claw is equivalent to, I think it's faster than a direwolf. Yeah, it's 5% faster than a direwolf, but it has the sprint. The sprint gives it, I think it's another 80% speed or something like that. This is the fastest mount in the game, purely as well as adding that ability on is like a sprint. Monstrous. If you get this, if you can pop that sprint with your gallop, you're going to be away from a situation in seconds. The final mount is the Ghost Wolf. The Ghost Wolf is like a steroided direwolf, but again, they're not actually in the game yet, so I'm not going to talk about them too much. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been long due, and I apologise for that. It's been a bit of a stressful couple of weeks. I'm actually going for my MRI in about an hour and a half, which I'm panicking about like crazy. Thank you for watching. Come back for more. Subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.